I was just up in the yoga shala doing my asana practice, and then after I went to take a drink, and I started thinking, yogis should be taking more supplements. Let's dive in. Let me clear out the camera, the mic a little bit. Alright, hopefully that's better and you can hear me. Alright, so big question here is, should yogis be taking supplements? Now, first off, I'm not a doctor. Let me get this focused right here. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a fitness expert. I'm not a dietitian, so this may not apply to everyone. Oh wait. Alright, well hopefully... Shoot. I keep trying to clean the camera, but I think it's just getting dirtier. Anyway, so I just finished my asana practice, and I was thinking, yogis should be supplementing. I didn't get into supplementing until I got into lifting weights, but as I was looking at the data and having a yogic background, I was like, wait, there's no reason a yogi shouldn't be lifting either, or supplementing either, right? But still, yogis should be lifting too, but there's no reason why yogis shouldn't be supplementing unless there's a specific personal condition. So, first off, let's talk about some of the kinds of supplements that there are. I mean, you could probably get down into all kinds of micronutrients and vitamins and, bodybuilding things that are super specific, but your general top two that you might want to consider looking into would be protein. I know that sounds like, bro, but seriously, from my experience, a lot of yoga teachers and yoga students struggle with doing most of the asanas because they don't have enough muscle, right? And the muscle's not toned and there's not very much. That's not to be insulting or rude or anything else, body shaming or anything. It's just a pure fact from teaching thousands of students that, barring any injuries or other contraindications, lack of muscle is one of the top reasons why a lot of people struggle with doing poses, because you do have to be in shape. Like, if we want to talk about real yoga, back in the day, yogis grew up doing yoga. They were doing all kinds of labor all the time, carrying water, carrying rice, farming land with animals, cutting wood, building homes, and clearing trees manually. So that's the context you got to remember when people like to get on their horse about real yoga. And it's not a judgment, it's a pure fact that the majority of people who do yoga live a sedentary life and don't come from a background of lifelong physical training. So when we look at it from this perspective, historically, it makes sense to really get in shape and explore asana. We could look at it from an anatomy perspective of why you should have more strength in your body while doing or in preparation for for asana. All right, well, let's look at basic functions of muscle. So the most obvious function of muscle is to control the movement of the extremities, right? You need muscle to move your arms and legs and stuff. Okay, what's the next one? Protect the joints. If you have more muscle around a joint, you're just you're gonna literally have more reinforcements around keeping it in place, stabilizing it, controlling its movement, or preventing its movement. That's a big deal when it comes down to doing your asana practice, staying safe, and avoiding injury. That's a pretty big deal. So that those two reasons alone would be enough for you to take protein. And you can take whatever kind of protein you want. If you want whey protein, fine. If you want chickpea protein or pumpkin protein, or usually if you're looking for like a vegan or vegetarian option, you can sometimes get these like plant proteins that are just a bunch of grinded up like seeds and plants, and some of them are really good, some of them not, right? So you can take whatever kind of protein that you want to take, but you should be taking something. Especially if you're vegan vegetarian, you're already down on the protein intake because you're probably not disproportionately increasing the volume of food you consume in order to make up for the nutrients that come with highly packed dense meat, right? Meat as a tissue is more dense than plants, usually contains a lot of nutrients in there that if you're going to be removing from the diet, should be supplemented with something else like seeds and legumes and nuts, and an increased amount of plant consumption, because you need to make up, not that you won't get enough, but you need to make sure you're getting the right portions. Now, if you're trying to add weight, you need to add even more food consumption, especially if you're vegetarian or vegan, to make up for that. Some really dense foods like chickpeas or walnuts can definitely help, but again, I mean, you'll just benefit. And I'm not saying, like, guys, please don't misunderstand me when I say add muscle. I'm not meaning everybody become a bodybuilder, but I just mean adding a little bit of muscle to the point that it's obvious to you in your life that doing your day-to-day activities like laundry or picking up kids or carrying grocery bags are all significantly easier. Like, you'll just notice as you get stronger that these tasks are easy, or you can do more of them before you get tired, right? So protein is a big one. And then your next one that is very common is going to be creatine. Now, there's all kinds of conspiracies and ideas about creatine, but essentially what it comes down to is it helps your muscles produce more energy, it helps your muscles retain more water, which helps you to stay hydrated, which is super important for a bunch of reasons, and it's a really good complement with protein for most people, right? I'm not speaking for everyone, but in general, it's seen as a pretty good complement for protein. And you ever notice, here's why yogis should take creatine. You ever notice when you go and do a hard asana practice that the next day or two after you're super stiff? That's because your muscles have had a micro tear and are growing. And as a result, they get stiff for the next couple of days while they repair. Creatine not only speeds up that recovery, but reduces that feeling of muscle stiffness, right? And I would know because I've been in the I've got a yoga background, and gone through that. And then when I got into fitness training, I did it for about a month and a half, and I was so sore after the gym I could barely move for days. I started taking creatine all the time, right? There's some rules you gotta follow, but it comes on the box. So I started taking creatine regularly, and I don't have that issue anymore. I get faster gains with no pain and shorter recovery time. So that's a big deal. There are other supplements you can take, like amino acids, and there's a few other ones. I don't know all the names. I'm not pretending to be an expert on supplements or nutrition here, but I can speak to the fact that there are a variety of supplements to be taking. Usually people start out with protein, creatine, BCAAs. There's another one, it's on the tip of my tongue, I'll remember it in a minute. And then I also like to take some kind of like powdered everything vitamin. Not just vitamin, but like a powdered all-in-one. So I haven't found one here in Sri Lanka. I haven't really looked much because it's an island. Everything is imported and much more expensive than just normal price stuff. But back in Turkey, I would get this supplement that included basically all the vitamins, all the minerals, all the enzymes, all the amino acids, and then a handful of plant extracts like grapeseed and ginseng and turmeric and other stuff like that, just like all in together. Now let me tell you, it was nasty. But I just kind of, plug my nose, close my eyes, chug the whole thing at once, and take it in the morning and be done with it, So that was sort of my regimen. And it's made a tremendous influence on my mindset, on my emotions, on my physical body, both before and after performance. It's helped my body grow incredibly fast while retaining my flexibility. And I think it's something that yogis and yoga teachers just don't really talk about, because they feel like, well, we've talked about diet and everyone is just in agreement to be vegan, so we don't really need to talk about this anymore. Or basically listing a bunch of fruits and veggies and nuts that are really good for you, which is great, but there needs to be a part of like disciplining the body. You need to go through things that are hard. You need to do things that are challenging for you physically, and then repairing the body with the right nutrients and supplements with that, right? It's not uncommon for a lot of yoga practitioners to be nutrient or mineral deficient because of diet, and supplementation is a great way to complement an increased diet awareness and regime, right? I'm not saying only take supplements and then do whatever you want with your diet. That's something that I struggle with, right? But I'm working on this journey of going more and more to being more conscious about which supplements I'm taking, and then slowly improving my diet more and more and more over time. So, one thing at a time. I'm not trying to adjust my whole life at once, because it'll last 2 weeks or less, and then, it'll be game over. So this has been my experience. I would recommend looking into some kind of plant protein, whey protein, creatine, and then like an all-in-one vitamin, mineral, enzyme, plant extract powder that you could just pour in some water and take. So if you have any suggestions on what those could be, I'd love to get some recommendations just for myself too down in the comments. I'd love that. And I'll see you in the next video.